Hi, folks, and welcome to our Let's Talk Career series today. Just for you tuning in to our series for the first time, the purpose of this series is to talk to our guests about their personal journey to the career that they are now in. So today we have Chris Walsh. He works at the Hamilton Public Library, and we're going to talk to him about his personal journey, and we'll get started then.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Chris, for joining us today.
Absolutely happy to be here.
So can you tell me a little bit more about your career, your job?
Sure. So I'm a community librarian with the Terryberry Library. Specifically, I work at the Terryberry branch. My role involves a variety of different elements. I provide customer service, so that means supporting members as they come into the library and need help accessing some of our resources. I help train library staff. I run programming, meaning sort of in-person or virtual learning opportunities for people. I help manage the collections a little bit, so making sure that the resources we offer are current and up to date and in good order. And I also am involved a little bit in some strategic or some sort of planning around ideas like digital literacy, employment and career skills and outreach. And different people in the system may have different focuses, but those are some of the areas that I focus on.
And how long have you been in this job?
In this job, I've been for a couple of years, about 3 years in a librarian role, but I've been with the Hamilton Public Library for 7 years so far.
Okay. And what did your education look like to get to this role?
For sure, yeah. For this role, a librarian is a professional designation, so you do need a master's degree in order to be a librarian. I also have a background in education and an undergraduate degree in genetics as well. All of that said, there are a range of careers in libraries that will require different levels of education and skills depending on which type of role you work in. So it could be anything from we've got IT staff who have a tech background. We've got people who help maintain our facilities, people who shelve books or provide other services. So there really is a range of opportunities for people from different backgrounds and with different skills.
So it's not just how it used to be when you're picturing it, someone just stamping the book and you're signing it out.
Yeah, things have changed a little bit. If people haven't been to a library since that, I recommend visiting or at least checking out hpl.ca to get a sense of some of the things that we do now.
Yeah, and what would you say is the biggest changes that have happened during the pandemic?
Yeah, so the pandemic has certainly affected the way we offer some of our services. So like any public service, we have had to modify the way we do things. So all sorts of things, whether it's contact tracing and greeting people as they enter, or maybe offering services in a different way, or just managing a little more closely how people use the library. That is something that we've had to implement in order to support the public health effort to contain COVID-19. That said, though, I think a lot of the overall mission of the library hasn't necessarily changed all that much. We still aim to provide relevant and responsive services to the public. Support people's freedom to discover, access information, resources, and lifelong learning opportunities. So all of that is the same. It's just we've had to modify a little bit the way we do it. I'd also note that libraries have for a long time been interested in the internet and how it affects the way people seek information. And even prior to the pandemic, we've been looking at ways we could expand our virtual branch and our online presence. So a lot of offering online resources and signing up for a library card online. These are all things that fortunately we had in place before the pandemic. And then the pandemic, of course, has also encouraged us to implement some things that we had been looking into for a while beforehand a little bit more quickly. So we've had some services roll out over the last few months, and some others that we're looking at implementing soon that were in the works prior to the pandemic, but are coming a little sooner than perhaps we had initially planned as a result of the pandemic. So.
That's awesome. And are most of the libraries in the Hamilton area still open in
Yeah,
general?
so all of the Hamilton Public Library locations are open and offering services, and our bookmobile is running as well. And if anyone is interested in the services or the hours of a library in their area, I would recommend visiting hpl.ca or give us a call, and we can let you know when we're available. Most branches, especially in the sort of urban center of Hamilton, are open 6 days a week at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And I know the branch downtown has computers that they allow clients to come in and use. Is that still functioning?
Yeah, so again, most of our libraries that have public computer access still are offering public computer access. Obviously, we can't maybe offer as many public computers as we have. And some of our smaller branches in particular, where it's harder to offer that and still provide 6 feet of distance, may not be able to provide the same level of computer access in the past. But all of our branches do have, or most of our branches, I should say, do have public computers accessible. And you certainly are welcome to contact us if you have questions about how that works. And of course, all of our branches also have Wi-Fi if you have your own device.
Awesome. So what made you think about getting into this type of career, Chris?
Yeah, good question. I have always focused on public service work, and it's something that really has been the area of focus for me in my career. And I've been a lifelong library fan, but if I'm honest, I never really initially considered a career in libraries. Prior to libraries, I worked in social services and healthcare and in education as well. And it was when I was transitioning in an education career that a friend actually recommended I look at opportunities at the library. And so I started working at the library in a part-time capacity with an eye towards it being a temporary thing that would support me as I move in further in an education career. But after I started working here, I pretty quickly realized a lot of what I wanted to pursue in an education career, I could actually do in a library career as well. So it sort of won me over. And so I pursued some extra education in libraries and haven't really looked back since.
That's amazing. So what would you say is your favorite part of this job?
Yeah, there's a number of things. Some of the things that most interest me about the job is there's sort of an ongoing, sort of relentless in a way, opportunities for learning. So my job is different every day, and that's exciting to me. There is a sort of broad range of skills required for the type of work I do in libraries. So I could be helping a toddler find a book one moment and then helping a student research a project and help someone else find a necessary service like a warm meal or a place to stay. You could help someone access their email so that they can contact a family member and then help someone else with a 3D printer a moment later. So there is sort of quite a range of skills needed, and that interests me. The other thing that I find really rewarding about library work is it's community work and it's direct one-to-one work with members of the public. And you can see on a daily basis how some of the work you do impacts people's lives. And I find that really rewarding.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's nice to hear. What would you say is one of your least favorite part of the job?
Least favorite part. Okay. Yeah, so one of the things for me, I would say, if you're considering a career in library work, one thing to be mindful of is it is a public service, and as a result of that, we aim to provide service when the public needs it. So most library jobs aren't 9-to-5 jobs. They do require some evening and weekend work. For some people, that's a bonus or a feature, especially if you have other 9-to-5 commitments. For me in my life right now, most of my family and friends are 9-to-5 workers. So that means for me, having evening and weekend shifts means I don't always have the same opportunities to join on things. When we lived in a world where social engagements and commitments were happening. But again, at a different stage in life, it might work better for me that I do have those evening and weekend opportunities as well.
Interesting. And if there was something you could tell as far as your career goes, something you could tell your younger you, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
Good question. I think a couple things. One would be to be open to possibilities of things changing. I think I had this notion when I was younger that I would find something, a career, and that would be my career, and I would do that career for 30 years or 35 years, and that would be it. But I think, especially in the modern workforce, things are changing constantly, and opportunities may come in places that you never really considered or thought of. So it's good to be open to the new opportunities and new avenues of work.
That's awesome. And that kind of relates to my next question was, what kind of advice would you give a person that would be thinking of getting into this type of field?
This type of field? Well, I would say, first of all, in the same way that being a movie fan is helpful if you want to be an actor or a director, I think if you think a library career might be something that you're interested in, it's a good idea to make sure you're familiar with the type of work we do and the services we provide. So for us at the Hamilton Public Library, if you visit hpl.ca, you can get a sense of some of the work that we do. And I expect for many people, even for avid library users, they'll find that there's things that we do that maybe they didn't realize that we do. Yeah, so I would certainly encourage people to be to explore the library and see what it is that we do as you consider whether or not this is a career for you.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I can share the link for the library on the Facebook post. Is there anything coming up in the library that someone might know about that you can share? A little poke of information that
like as it relates to careers or services?
Well, in general,
like
just services and careers, yeah.
Sure, yeah. So this month at the library, we're trying to offer opportunities for people to learn every day. So if you haven't attended a library program or event recently, or even if you have, visit hpl.ca and check out our online calendar. And you can see some of the services and resources that we have coming up over the next month. I would also say if you don't have a library card or haven't used it recently, visit hpl.ca. You get a card there as well, and you can contact us through the website too. What else can I mention?
Is the library, like, what is the hiring process for that? Like, if there was a job, how would that work?
Yeah, good question. So any opportunity at the library will be posted on hpl.ca. There's a jobs page there, and we often have jobs open maybe only for a week. So I would recommend, if you're interested in the career, to check back frequently and keep an eye on that page. The Hamilton Public Library is also a City of Hamilton service. So many of our jobs get posted through the City of Hamilton job board as well. So if you already have an eye on that, then you'll see jobs come up when they're available at the library there. The other thing I'll mention is the Hamilton Public Library isn't the only library around, of course. So other municipalities have libraries, schools have libraries, Mohawk and McMaster have libraries. and some hospitals and legal clinic practices and things like that have libraries as well. So as much as we are interested in you, if you're interested in us, there are other places to look as well if you're considering a career in libraries.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's great.
No
And thank you so much for talking to us today, Chris. I appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you about town at the library hopefully one day.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks so much. Take care.